Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Filmaholic. This is a new series of videos that we're going to be doing. Something else we're trying out on the channel here. It's something that I've kind of had in the back of my mind. It's something that I was interested in, and Abel brought it up to me. But he was interested in it as well. I've watched other people on YouTube that I'm a fan of. Like Christian Harloff on when he was on Collider, and he did Collider Live and different story. And this is going to be something similar to that, a little bit different though, because they talk about things other than film. We're going to try to keep it more central to film, but this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to start off with a topic, and we're going to throw that topic out there. We're going to discuss that topic, but we're not going to be tied down to discussing just that topic or a list of things or whatever. We're going to start with that topic and see where the conversation goes, because that's what I'm most interested in on this channel, is discussing things, discussing film, having a conversation about it. And so I want you guys to, let us know what you guys think about the conversation as well. Give us your thoughts. Give us any ideas of things that you might want to have us discuss in the future. But yeah, I'm really excited for this, and I'm glad we're finally doing it. So hopefully everything I just said was recorded, because I did have my mic off. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so yeah, this is unfiltered, but we are calling this. We're trying it out. We tried some different titles here. We are trying this calling this On the Rocks. That's going to be our title for this series of videos. If you think that sucks, let us know. Let us know anything in the comments. I want feedback from people.
Yeah.
So yeah, the topic that we came up with to talk today, and it's something that I've been thinking about recently, not in terms of Marvel, but in films in general, and the film going experience in general, and everything. So what I want to take it back to is several months ago. This was sometime back in 2019, when obviously Martin Scorsese came out with his comments about the Marvel films, right? And I'm just reading a little bit, and this is an article that he wrote for the New York Times here. So I'm just quoting it from this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing or anything like that, but this is Scorsese. And, he says, because he wrote an article about, and in response to the comments that he made, and he said, I've tried to watch a few of them, talking about the Marvel films, and they're not for me. They just seem closer to theme parks than they are movies. As far as movies that I've known and loved throughout my life, and that in the end, I don't think they're cinema. So I just want to take that little bit right there, and we'll let that little bit of the quote and what he said blossom into whatever we're going to talk about. Let's go to Marvel films in general. I, for one, do think, that's a matter of his opinion. He talks about it in the article, and he has every right to have that opinion, especially when he is one of the greatest directors that has ever lived. But I do think he's wrong in terms of just in general. Like I said, is his opinion. But I do think Marvel films are cinema. I think there's some very very cinematic films in there, director-driven, story-driven. I think Endgame is an amazing film. I'm not a huge fan of Black Panther like some people are, but I do think it's a huge cultural achievement in cinema. They're important films, I think, overall, and they just don't connect with him, and that's fine. What do you think in terms of that, in terms of Marvel films being theme park rides?
I can see where he's going with it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, I agree with him, but, like, I can see where he's going with him. Well, like, I'm with you, is, like, there's still cinema. Yeah, there's a couple of them you can kind of say, like, but, like, majority of them, they're actually pretty good films. Like, you can consider pieces of cinema, like, like the Winter Soldier, or like the Captain America trilogy, or the like Infinity War, Endgame. Like whether it can be like from story to like their territorial approach, or whether like or what the achievements they did to for cinema to progress down the future. That's cinema.
Right. Look at the visual effects that the MCU has helped enhance in terms of making Robert Downey, going back to Civil War, making Robert Downey Jr. look younger in that. They built upon that in Guardians of the Galaxy with Kurt Russell. You got Josh Brolin as Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame, the way he looks and how incredible that is, and that's him. That's a motion capture performance from him. Obviously, that had been done in the past, even going back to Jar Jar Binks and Phantom Menace, but they're to the point where it looks that good and you get that good a performance, because Josh Brolin's performance in that film was incredible.
And they added like little details to his like to the facials and to like the little body hair and everything.
Right. There's so much that goes into these films, and even something like this motion capture performance and everything that I feel personally he was overlooking when he made those comments, and that he he says he's tried to watch a few, and I'm curious which ones he's tried to watch. And I was thinking about this too, because I don't know which ones he's tried to watch. If he's watched random ones, if he started with Age of Ultron, then yeah, his opinion of these films are going to be a lot different than someone who started with Iron Man and who watched all the way through to Endgame, or who's someone who turned on the Captain America trilogy and watched it, or who's someone who turned on Thor Ragnarok and watched it, because that's a different experience. And I think, Avengers Endgame is an incredible achievement in cinema. I think that's a very cinematic film, and I think, Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War is like the Empire Strikes Back of this generation. Like, that is such a monumental film itself. And the way that film ended, and the epic cliffhanger that left people in suspense for a year, which then paid off in Endgame, which was the conclusion of 22 films. And I was thinking about that recently, what people's opinion of Endgame, and the fact that because a lot of times in film school and stuff, with going back to writing scenes and writing films and stuff in general, and talking about sequels are supposed to stand alone on their own, right? Like, they're not supposed to rely on other films. So if you look at Endgame and the quality of that film, and whether or not it was amazing, because do you need to watch those other films to watch Endgame and understand it? I do think you do, and I don't think that's a problem. Now, in general, most sequels I do think should stand on their own, and you shouldn't have to see those other films. But who turns on, at this point, it's like a television series, and the lines are so blurred. And we'll get to this. I know I want to touch upon this. The lines are so blurred now between cinema and television, right? With streaming services and long form storytelling and all this. Where Marvel film, they are films. They are cinematic. Like, Infinity War is one of the most cinematic films I have ever seen. Thanos in that film and the Infinity Gauntlet, all of those like just epic scenes, and like the opening of that film is incredible. But yeah, like looking at that, and it's like the long form. Who turns on, a series, a show, right, for the series finale, and watches a series finale and is like, I haven't watched anything else, but I'm going to watch the series finale, and I should be able to understand the whole show right now. No, that series finale is made for the people who have been there the whole series and watched it. It's not made to get new viewers. Just like Endgame, which I think Endgame does get new viewers and and people can still enjoy it, but they're not going to feel the same as someone who watched the whole series. And I feel like Endgame should have and was made for everyone who was there the whole time. And it's the highest money making film of all time internationally, so it paid off for them. I don't think there was any mistakes there. But do you have any more thoughts as far as Marvel goes, and his just jumping off anything I said there?
Um, what is probably he also has like I wouldn't like I mean I want to say anger, but like frustration. It's because because like movies like me and you worked in the business well the movie theater business
The business.
because like the
Not
business
there yet, but yeah, I know
yeah
what you're talking
yeah
about. Yeah.
yeah but like because like when a movie like that comes out like in the first week they're gonna take up like a lot of show times and that kind of takes away like movies like small indie films the opportunity for them to be shown. So I guess that's just kind of him just pouring his frustration out in a way. Because because I know we're going to touch streaming service later in a bit, but that's that's when streaming service comes. It gives like a different platform for smaller films to be viewed. Because like now like what is it like if you go to see a movie in the movie theaters because it's gonna be like an event it's gonna be a Marvel movie or a DC movie or a Tarantino movie or a Del Toro movie or a James Bond movie like event once in like one like those event type movies.
People go to the movies now mainly for event films.
Yeah, like you won't see because like if you want to see something like Little Woman or Parasite or smaller films like that, but like are really critically praised, like you if you live like like in places like we do, we have to wait for them like 2-3 months down the line or closer to award season. Or if you're fortunate enough that you live like in New York, LA, Dallas, Arlington, Chicago, like you have a better shot of seeing those films.
Yeah, and that sucks. Like, I love, and we'll talk about a little bit about this too, but the cinema experience, and I know I've touched upon it a little bit, um, but in general, taking all outside factors out of it, um, I'm seeing a film in the cinema is an amazing experience, and I think any film is enhanced by sitting in a cinema and watching it on the big screen. But there are other factors that I want to touch upon in a second that affect that. Um, but it goes to the point where you were talking about people. Like a Marvel movie comes out, and we worked at the theater. A Marvel film comes out, and a lot of these theaters, and it makes sense for money wise why they do it. They flood the auditoriums with the same film. Like when Endgame came out, almost all of our auditoriums at the theater were filled with Endgame. But there was a market for it. People were in all of those viewings. People wanted to see this film. It's not like, and sometimes I guess there is this situation, but it's not like they were flooding the auditoriums with this film, and people still weren't showing up for it. And people were like, "Hey, I wanted to go see." What's I'm trying to think of a movie that people a ghost story. A ghost story, because I'm gonna talk about that in a second. A ghost story, okay? So it's not like people were showing up and they're like, "Oh man, I wanted to see a ghost story, but I can't see it because Avengers is in that auditorium." That wasn't happening. I'm sure it happened somewhere, but it's not happening in general, right? Like people are wanting to go see this Avengers movie. That's why they're in there. That's why when we were there, theaters, were pushed by these large companies like Regal, AMC, all these different competitors to open at like 8 o'clock in the fucking morning, making their employees get there on that time so that they could have. 7. Yeah, there was one time, yeah. I've had to get there extremely early before, and the reason behind that is because they want to get as many showtimes as they can. And guess what? People show up to it. People show up to fucking 7 a.m. showtimes for Avengers. Like, you couldn't wait like another 2 hours, but no. You got to show up at 7 o'clock to see the film because it's that important to you. That's why they're taking up all the auditoriums. People are going to see it. It's not like there isn't a market for it. So it's hard to argue against you know, him getting upset over there not being space for a particular film, which.
And plus, you got to think like in mind, like people don't want to go to movie theater just to watch a movie and start thinking. People just want to lose themselves. They don't want to like watch something go how is this like a metaphor to like right now, or how is this like they don't want to think that like probably maybe when they're watching like a big movie like Fast and Furious, yeah. But people just want to go to a movie theater to like just to forget their worries or just to watch something or just watch explosions, whatever or whatnot. And
Right.
like
A lot of people don't view cinema, and I'm not saying this like I'm talking down on anyone or anything like that. Like everyone's different, everyone has their thing. Not everyone views cinema the same. They're not going to view it like me, like you, like Scorsese or whatever, and like look at the beauty and the art of a certain film. They want to go for these, to forget about their day or whatever, take their kids, have some free time for 2 hours, fucking take a nap, whatever they're gonna do. Like it's an escapism, and
yeah.
it's a lot of what cinema
And,
is escapism.
and also like movie theaters like they get the movies and stuff, but at the end of the day for them it's a business. Like like they don't make money out of the tickets. And like the best opportunity for them is when like a movie like Avengers comes out because like they know people are gonna buy concessions out of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the only time you're gonna like probably have like a buttload of people is probably like near award seasons, but it's mostly like elderlies or people that care about cinema. That's pretty much it.
Are you shaking your
Like
leg right now?
yeah, oh sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's most of the only time like people are gonna show up for like I guess you can say like art house films or super deep films or whatnot.
Well, that's
Like
what
people
we're.
like me, you, or elderly, or people that just like me watch movies, like good, bad, whatever. That's the only ones that will literally show up for that.
And while I'm thinking about it, because I have it written down here, a ghost story where I just mentioned that earlier. Um, it's a film that starred Casey Affleck, Rooney Mara. It's an A24 film, and this happens with a lot of the A24 films, but it was actually like an incredible film. If you haven't seen a ghost story, I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's on Amazon Prime. Um, if you love cinema, definitely check it out. You won't be disappointed. Have you watched it?
Mhm.
A ghost story? Oh, it's a beautiful film. Um, but we had it at the theater when I worked there. I can't remember. You weren't working there yet. I don't think it was back in 2016. Um, but it was a film that we had, and no one came to that. We had it like a week. Just no one, and the people that did come see it, they thought it was something else. They thought it was a horror film, which is, and that goes through the whole. We can talk about that genre too, the horror genre. But people thought it was a horror film. They went to it. It's definitely not a horror film, and they were confused. I remember going in there and like being completely silent. People just being like, "What is happening?" Like Hereditary, right? That film came out, and I think our opinions differ a little bit on that. I like it more than
Yeah,
you do, which I didn't like it when I first saw it. It took me another watch to make me like it. But I remember seeing it in theaters, and it was a packed theater because people love horror films, and people did not like it in the theater I was in.
Mhm.
Like people were like laughing at parts that weren't funny. Or like none of that film is funny, but people were laughing at parts of that
I mean,
movie.
it was a pretty uncomfortable movie, so that don't make it comfortable
Just
one way or the other.
heavy sign, like when they got up, and it was just like that's an art film, right? It's another A24 film, which I'm a big fan of A24. Obviously, you know that. But they make films that are like filmmaker driven, right? And those aren't the films that people rush out to see in the cinema anymore. It's just there's so much for people to choose from and to spend their money on and spend their time on that they go to the big films now, and that's not going to change anymore. Like as far as theaters go, that's the way that we're headed. That's the road that we're on. Um,
Yeah, And I personally think at this point it's gonna go down. Like now it's just gonna be like who can make the most money within the first 2 weeks of the release, and who can make the most money at the end of the reality goal run.
Yeah, and everything is event films now. Like we were talking, like the Marvel films, DC, all the comic book films. You got Fast and the Furious, all
Star
these
Wars.
Star Wars, everything that has sequels that's an established franchise.
Hell, even Michael
Uh,
Bay.
I wouldn't say that.
Oh, I still think he has his
In,
audience though. So
in the past, yes, I don't think Michael Bay is an event film anymore. I think Transformers maybe, but Bumblebee. Well, I don't even know about that because excuse me, Bumblebee didn't make the amount of money that they thought that film was going to make, which is probably why you're going to get another fucking Michael Bay-esque Transformers movie moving forward. Hopefully not, but that's probably what's going to happen. But I don't think Bay himself, like, he put out that movie on Netflix recently. I don't know how successful it was. Maybe it was. I didn't watch it. It looked like garbage to me. How was it?
um, just a real quick man, like the editing. I don't know, dude. I feel like I was gonna get a seizure at times. Um, I did like the soundtrack a bit. I low key like the soundtrack. He one thing I do give credit a lot of Michael Bay is like how much he puts detail when when they're doing like the killing and all that, or
Yeah.
in the gore. I give him a lot of credit for that. I give him a lot of credit for his action sequence, except he does kind of go a little bit overboard with the stops and the slow motion and the explosions. But I do give him a lot of props for his action though.
Um,
Like small things like that, I'm just kind of like, dude, like you actually do care, but I think he's doing it for the money at this point.
but there are directors who are events themselves. Tarantino is the prime example. Like Tarantino films, especially that fact that he only has one more film coming out. His movies when they come out, they're at events. Django was a big film on its own because a lot of people wanted to see it. But Hateful Eight came out. I remember that. It was like an event for Hateful Eight. Once Upon a Time, the same thing. People want to see his movies. Scorsese, I feel like used to be that way. I don't think. I think he's just older now, and I don't think his films they're not bad, but I don't think they connect with an audience like they used to. The audience that is coming out for Scorsese films now are either older or they're people like us who are really into cinema and want to see what he can do. What's the new Scorsese film that's coming out? Um, the last film he put out was Silence before Irishman. The film he put out was Silence, which I wasn't a big fan of that movie. I don't think it was bad, but I didn't like it really. There was some. What's that?
It took me to like the credits start rolling to like go like son of a bitch, he directed that.
It's so long, and like I don't think that's a problem. I love long movies as long as I feel like when I get to the end of it that runtime was justified, and that my time was worth it, and it kept me engaged, and it like I said that it was worth it. I'm happy with it. Like the runtime for Once Upon a Time, the runtime for Avengers Endgame, what have you. Like I'm all for long movies. I think The Rise of Skywalker was bad. But if that had been a good film, and if I was the studio planning that film should have been 3 hours. With what they could have told in that. But they're afraid of audiences' attention span, and it's fair to say that. But Avengers Endgame has proven that the runtime doesn't really matter. It's what you put in for people to view. The Irishman, I thought The Irishman was really good. I liked it. Was it great that I think it should be nominated for all these Oscars? No, I don't. Was it too long? It's a hard question because If you look at the runtime of the film, could they have taken anything out? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. They might have could have taken some of that stuff out. I know there was some stuff in the film, especially with his daughter, that I think they should have added more to, actually. And they probably could have taken other stuff a little bit out. I don't know. Maybe rearranged it. I know he's went on record and said, and I think this is partly his director side, his film side. He's went on record saying The Irishman wouldn't work as a TV series. I think The Irishman should have worked. I think it would have worked better as a miniseries.
I mean, he's like an old school dude, so.
But he's produced television shows like Vinyl, which was awful, by the way. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I mean, but one thing is like producing, then one thing is directing and writing, and then
right. You know, and I'm going to segue into this real quick. He was originally attached, right? When we first started hearing the rumblings about Joker, he was supposed to produce that film, the Todd Phillips Joker film. And that's back when they were wanting Leo to play the lead, which would have been incredible, by the way. Like, just Leo as the Joker. Yeah. I think he would be amazing as the Joker in any film. But that was the rumblings. They wanted him to play the character, and they wanted Scorsese to produce it. I'm sure they wanted him to direct it too, but they weren't going to try to even get their fucking hopes up with that. And I think Todd Phillips was the one that was like coming up with the idea for this film anyways. He ended up not producing it. Bradley Cooper and some other people produced it, but one of the ladies who is a producing partner with Scorsese, she produced Joker, and he's talked about that too. And it's like, I wonder what a comic book film with his stamp on it would have been like. I don't think it would have been like Joker, because Joker is just a copy of his movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to DC, that's where I was getting to with this bit. The DC films, for the most part right now, they do feel like theme park rides to me. And that's where I kind of want to go to as far as are there films out there that we do think are like theme parks? Because I do think they are. There's a lot of DC's new films that I watch, and I'm like, this is what he's actually talking about. These are the films that he should be referencing instead of Marvel, I think. But, I watch Birds of Prey, for an example. I don't want to keep shitting on Birds of Prey. I put my review up, by the way, if you guys want to check that out. But because it wasn't the worst film ever. And the more I think about it, the more there is certain things I like about Birds of Prey. Their performances, mainly. Like Margot Robbie, Ewan McGregor, the guy who plays Victor Zsasz. All of those were really good performances and worth checking out within the film that was a mess itself. But Birds of Prey, especially Aquaman, Justice League, all of these they're barely films at all. They do feel like a ride. You get off and you feel nauseous afterwards. Like, there was so much in it, but nothing happened. It didn't move you along. It just was a filler. And I don't think DC's the only films out there that's doing that. Obviously,
Fast and Furious, Transformers.
Fast and Furious, while I like some of the earlier ones.
Fucking Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious are very much theme park rides.
But they have their audience, though.
They do have their audience, just like theme parks do.
And
they serve the same purpose.
And I wouldn't say the sad part, but I would say, like, maybe funny or weird part is, like, you will have people argue with you saying that they are pieces of cinema, which is fine, but you will go with that. But
yeah, I mean,
it's just like same thing with back with the Joker, like honestly, the reason why it cracked $1 billion just because of the name itself and the character.
Exactly.
If this movie was just like Arthur Fleck or if the movie just say authored,
Author
and it had and if it had no references of literally a Batman, Gotham, and all that, it was just basically, let's just say New York City, basically. No one will see that shit.
No,
And
it would
and
have been an indie film that probably wouldn't have got picked up by WB. It probably would have went somewhere like A24 or what have you. And with the film the way it is, I feel like, and it didn't have that Joker title on it, I think people would have very much, even more so, compared it to Scorsese and called it more of a ripoff. But even if it was slightly different, it would have been a film that audiences wouldn't have went to see. It wouldn't have made that money. Joaquin Phoenix is not bringing out an audience.
I mean, he's still a good actor, it's all right, but he's not going to bring the audiences that the $1 billion right now they made.
I like Joaquin. He's a great actor. But, it goes back to a film like I read. It came out last, I think it was 2018. Don't Worry, He Won't Go Far on Foot. Did you say you watched that film?
No, I have not.
It's on Amazon as well, I believe. You should check it out as well. It has him in it. It has Jonah Hill in it, Jack Black. It's really good, and his performance in it is really good. No one watched that movie. His performance was completely overlooked, as well as the entire film, the screenplay, everything. It was overlooked for 2018, so no one went to see it. And but yet, Joker comes out. Well, it goes back to another film too. I want to throw out there. You Were Never Really Here. That's a better film than Joker. Did that many people watch that movie? I know some people did watch that more than or Him Will Go on Foot, but not many people saw it.
I remember cleaning theaters for that. I only saw at least at best 6 people.
Yeah.
During the credits.
And it's because it's because it had the name Joker on it, and so people were like, "Oh, I gotta go check out this Joker movie."
It's probably part of the universe.
I remember
marketing. They were like, it's not part of the universe.
Yeah, working at like my current job, and people who I'm sure don't go see me that many movies, saying, "Oh, gotta check out that Joker movie." My mom, who doesn't watch like comic book films, I gotta go check out. Well, I need to check out Joker because I heard he really goes far into that character, and I'm like, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah.
Then people I still think people analyzed it right, but I think people just analyze it now at this point.
Aquaman too. That's another DC one I just want to talk about real quick because I know we're going to do another. Here's another plug. We're going to do a video on that, the DC rewatch video for Aquaman. That was definitely a theme park ride and an awful one. That was one of the ones that give you fucking whiplash. It was bad. I know you had more fun on it. Maybe I
had fun with it.
Shouldn't have had the extra chili cheese dog before I got on the ride.
But yet again, man, I paid money for that, so obviously I'm gonna say that. Gotta get my money's worth.
And yeah, there was no substance. There was lots of colors, lots of whatever have you, corny lines. It was not good. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. That's another theme park film that I would say, which is unfortunate because I love Star Wars, and I think Star Wars are far more than a theme park film. They have depth to them. They have great stories, and they're like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where people's invested in it, and it is like a long form storytelling, but they've lost track of where they're going there. And Rise of Skywalker, I didn't feel anything watching that movie. I didn't feel anything watching it. I was just so emotionless. And other than how angry I was at the douchebag beside me who kept pulling his phone out and checking Instagram and Snapchat, because that's what a lot of the audiences at theaters around here are doing. And it goes back to what you were saying. It's like people, or what I was saying, they're not watching it the same way we are. They're not watching it for a cinematic experience. They are watching it. I was gonna say escapism, but I guess if you are spacing out of your escapism to check your phone for, I don't know. I'll never understand why people pull out phones in a theater. And, I guess we could talk about that a whole separate video of movie theater problems and all of that. But I think that goes back to it as far as like a theme park and like how people act in a movie theater now, right? And how they watch a film.
Yeah. And also like, what was it? Like, for these theme park movies or whatever, like, let me just start with audiences and stuff. Like, audiences have an effect on these kind of films because they open the mouth much. Like, for example, with DC universes, like something's going wrong, they'll fix it, but then if it won't go right with the fans and all that. Same thing with Star Wars. It's basically sometimes fans know what they're doing, but sometimes they just don't like you should give what the fans want, but at times don't listen to them because they don't know what is right, what you're trying to do. It's still good to take bits and pieces of their ideas, but this is still your picture. Like, you know where I'm going with it, right?
Yeah, it's studios being reactionary to
Yeah,
people.
they just being they just
to
like
fans, people being reactionary. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pressing that red button, and then then with smaller films or like Tarantino or any small film or whatnot. Well, I guess I don't know if Tarantino at this point is a small indie film, but like those are guys that or people or creators that are just like, I'm making movies because I want to make one, but if 6 people are gonna go see it, fuck it. I hope the 6 people enjoy it. As like Disney, Warner Brothers, you're just like, oh shit, everyone has to see my movie. Like, I have to at least make like 3/4 of $1 billion.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're putting most of their films. They're putting a lot of money into it, and they have to for the visuals and the action and all that. I mean, look how much money.
Yeah, like indie films, I mean, they're spending like what, they're like Jason Blum, like here's $5 billion, like
5 million.
Yeah, like that's it. I mean, it's not like for us, it's a lot of money, but like for those kind of standards, it's you're on a limit here because you got to pay the people, you got to get the whole entire production. You're kind of limited here, and you got
They're also associated with Universal too a little bit. So, but yeah.
And then promotion, all that. So you have to really be creative and shit. So I don't know.
Well, Blumhouse, that's another thing that I'd written about horror films, right? His movies, he's made other films beside horror films. I believe he made Whiplash, but for the most part, he makes horror films, and a lot of times they make a film for what, $5 million, and it gives them a huge profit, and that's because people flock to the theaters for horror films, and I don't want to upset anyone, because there's a lot of horror films a lot of horror fans out there, and
horror. Get it right.
Was I saying it wrong?
No, you got it right. It's just you forgot to add this.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fans out there, but me personally, I'm not a big fan of the genre. There's certain movies that I do love. Like Scream is in my top 10 favorite films of all time. I love that film. And I like the franchise that follows it. The original Halloween's really good. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Psycho is a 5 out of 5. Like, there's some incredible horror films. But a lot of the horror films that come out, they're garbage. They're garbage, and they're put out because people go see them just because they're a theme park. They just go for the ride.
They're just a bunch of like jump scares and like you know what's going to happen, but somehow you're still gonna get like that little, oh, okay, all right. But
You know, like a lot of people go on dates to horror films.
I mean, that's like a guarantee right there. So I won't blame them.
Yeah, like a lot. You know, we saw it working in the theater. I mean, I'd do that beforehand, but you know, you go in there and it's what I don't know.
Get anything you want, baby. Put butter on that popcorn too if you want. Yeah. I mean, like I remember with the Nun, man. Like, I mean, I watched it and stuff, and I was just like, God damn, this is garbage.
But a lot of people came to see it.
Yeah, a lot of people came. Same thing with like La Llorona. I was like, how the hell y'all make a movie about like a Mexican myth or whatever?
They're
Or what?
making, and which is weird because I actually don't remember a lot of people going to see this at our theater. The Boy, that movie, The Boy,
Oh, with yeah,
might have been
with
before your time there. I can't remember, but they're making a sequel. I saw a poster the other day. Um, People will go see it. They probably won't even have seen the original, but they'll go see it because it's a horror film, and it's like they'll show up and they'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" Which can you believe that we're in a it's 2020 and people are still showing up to a movie theater not knowing what they're going to go see?
Yeah.
But once again, like you know, it's hard for me to like separate myself like how I am with movies and cinema and stuff, and versus just someone who just sees things differently as far as cinema goes. Because I was always so confused when people would show up and they'd be like, what's playing? Because I've never been the type of person, even if I wasn't like wanting to see something in particular, if I was just going to go to the movies, I would look it up beforehand and see what was playing, maybe watch a trailer, at least read the description, something, without just showing up at the theater and be like, I guess I'll see this. Because I remember Once Upon a Time came out. That was right around, right before I left the theater. Once Upon a Time came out, and I guess people did that. They just showed up and just chose the film because people would come. I actually gave refunds to people who came out of the theater and didn't like it, which is my favorite film. So that just fucking blew my mind. But I don't really know what you expected because the trailer of Once Upon a Time doesn't mislead in any way.
I mean, it doesn't like it basically tells you what it's about, but you're right, it doesn't mislead you. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot more than just what's in the trailer, but it doesn't mislead you. It doesn't set the film up like it's an action film. It doesn't set it up that it's like Django or Inglourious Bastards or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people are expecting. A lot of times that happens.
again, man, sometimes the names can attract people. That's pretty much it. DiCaprio, Pitt, Tarantino.
Do you think names still attract people to the theater?
Um, yeah, I think names still attract people to the theater, but like, but if you're still talking about like you need like a guy like like those like back in the like in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s like if you at least had that one dude, people will go see it. Like it doesn't work anymore. Like it'll probably work here and there. Probably with The Rock. The Rock, it will work because right now he has a big cult following.
I was thinking about The Rock, and I think that for some people the name thing does still work, but I don't think it's like a guaranteed thing anymore. Because I mean, even with The Rock, right? Like Baywatch was a bomb,
Mm.
and he was in that, and it was
Then with
Baywatch.
Rampage,
It was him, and it was like a guaranteed like name, recognizable name. Did Rampage? Did that not do well financially?
I mean,
I can't remember. It should have. That was a fun movie. That was a fun theme park ride. That was one I wanted to get on again.
oh, it did well. I think it did, I don't know. Supposedly I think it was like the best reviewed video game movie. I don't fucking know, man. All I know I didn't like it, but it made money and it fairly and it did what it had to do basically.
And
But
ate too
man,
much of these chili cheese dogs before you got on the ride, man.
oh no, man, that's a lot of fat and carbs right there.
Okay.
But yeah, man, like I don't know, man, probably like a protein shake. I don't know, I'm messing up, but
You spilled the
I,
protein shake on your lap. You had wet pants. You got on the ride. You were disappointed. I get it. Okay.
yeah, put that vanilla protein powder, and people think it was probably cocaine. They're like, ooh, that boy was ready.
I mean, it's my deal with Baywatch, but
Uh, yeah. But yeah, I still think in a way names can still attract audiences.
I think
Like right
somewhat,
now,
but
yeah. Like you also got to think about though, because like there
but
are certain. You also got to think there are certain demographics though, because like um, like Tyler Perry will attract a certain demographic. Like certain actors will attract a certain demographic. Like whether it's race, some kind of like social, like if like a jock or whatnot, it will attract a certain demographic. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to attract a demographic audience or whatnot.
Christian
Whether
films.
Christian films, same way as though like like
Oh man.
you're gonna have people going like oh never mind, this is fucking unfiltered and shit. So like you're gonna have people going, oh my god, this is what the liberal media should be nominating in the Oscars. Like you're gonna have that kind of. Then you're gonna have like the right wing movies, the left wing movies. So you're always gonna have like audiences that attract like audiences gonna be attracted to some certain type of genres, certain type of actors or productions if you really go that far into it.
Yeah.
Because man, I'm trying to think like for Latinos, like whenever like a big actor from back home will have a movie coming out, that audience like will go out of the way and go see that movie because that's just like hey, that's one of our own, and they're making it big in Hollywood. Same thing with Tyler Perry. Like that's a man that like like he came from nothing to something. Now like he's literally one of like a billionaire. The man literally like built himself from scratch. Like he
Yeah.
literally built himself from scratch. Which I still think he's a talented. I think he's a really talented, but needs to fucking actually try. But anyways, that's another subject for another time.
I think
But
he is a talented actor. You know, we've seen him give good performances for Gone Girl or what have you, and I don't
um,
know. His movies just aren't for me anymore. Like, I mean, or what have you. Like, I watched some of his films back when he started, like, his movies started becoming big with Diary of the Mad Black Woman, um, Medea's Family Reunion. The earlier films when I was a kid, and I watched those. And I haven't seen those films in years, so I can't say that, like, they were terrible or whatever. I don't remember them being bad back then, but you just made so much of the same thing, and you're not you're just I don't know. I feel like you're making a lot of the same films just over. But
I don't like
I
back to
haven't
him
seen a
like
lot of recent films, so I don't know.
yeah, just real with him he's a talented actor, which I think he can probably go far if he wants to, but that's up to him. But I also do think as a director or writer, even with his like I'm not gonna say like his horrible ones because when he goes horrible, it's just horrible. But like with his mediocre ones, I can tell like yeah he has it in him, but he's not trying to the fullest because like he knows his audience. Like his audience is gonna like he's gonna have like in football terms, he can have a good record, a bad record, a horrible season, or a good season, but they're always gonna show support for him.
But it, I know he had that new film. Will it come out on Netflix? I don't know anything about it. So maybe he's made this type of film, and I don't know what have you. But he could make a film and keep his same set of. I think he works with a lot of the same people.
Mhm.
Um,
Talented people too as well.
yeah, I mean,
They just fucking settle for trash. I don't know why. Like
well,
the people that he gets on his movies, they're actually pretty talented, and that they could have a bright future. But the thing that fucks them out a lot is like they're in his movies, and that's not going to be a good progression for them down the line.
take some of these actors, go heavy in the emotional, go heavy, make your film, tighten the script up, make it more um, emotional and darker. And who knows? Like, Tyler Perry could be nominated for an Oscar. Like, that he could make like a serious. not that he doesn't make serious films, but you get what I'm saying. I feel
And
like a
he
lot of his films have the
acts like
same tone that he's going for.
yeah.
Um, and like you said, they do have an audience and they work for him. But I'm saying he could do something different and be successful, and people would still come out because it is him, and he does have that built-in fan base. And then you're pushing a good film. You don't have to keep making the same thing. Why was there 2 Halloween Medea movies?
They're the same thing, dude. I watched them. They're the same fucking thing. Like, here's my thing. It's just
Well,
like
that's why I stopped a long time ago watching the Medea movies, because after I'd watched like the first 2, which weren't bad, I watched like a couple more after that. The jail, the one when she goes to jail, the family reunion one. There was a couple more that not the family reunion one, the Big Happy Family. There's several with family in there
at this point.
And they all felt the same.
Yeah.
The tone was the same. Yeah, so I think he's finally done with Medea, but
I mean, I hope so. I hope he's done making movies like that, because like the man has literally, he has built an empire, like in Georgia, like a studio for himself. Like but it's just like kind of just go like, the man has built, he has the financial power. He has literally like a whole studio for himself. I kind of actually want to see him now actually try making a pretty good film, which I do think he has it in him. Even if he has to get like a collaboration with like I don't know, like with Jason Blum or A24, do it.
I don't think he needs to do that though, because
I mean,
like you said, he has his own like empire down there in Atlanta, which is I've been past his studios. They're nice and everything. He can do all of that himself, and he's definitely got the money to do it.
I mean, the man built.
He's just got to want to do it and stop trying to make the same thing. It's laziness making the same thing over and over. Take what you can do and make a good one. Make a good film.
Man literally went out his way to build like an actual fucking town and a replica of the White House.
Really? What was that for?
Yeah.
What movie?
Like for his studios. I think the replica for the White House, I think, is for a show that's gonna be on BET. It's probably out already, but it's for a show on BET.
And does he make these shows, or does he like produce? Does he produce stuff and have other people come in to make stuff? Or is it him making it? I mean, obviously we haven't done research about those guys. This is just
like, don't quote me on it, but I think he is. I think he's directing the one from on BET. I seen a couple ads of it, so.
But yeah, like if we get stuff wrong, we get stuff wrong. Like this is like unfiltered, our show here, so we're just going at saying stuff as it goes.
Basically, this might just be a big giant clutterfuck in a good way. We're just gonna be random.
Yeah.
And I think we have a topic, but then it's just gonna go all over the place.
Uncut Gems actually made a lot of that money for an indie A24 film.
I think the reason why that happened was because Adam Sandler and his audience, and people
that's
like, oh, Adam Sandler, that's a funny guy right there.
That's what I was gonna mention. I just thought about that. As far as name goes, and that bringing people into the theater, I think Adam Sandler is one of those people that his name still brings people into the theater. And that seems to be like a global thing, like because that's why he's so successful on Netflix. It's like people in other countries around the world, they like Adam Sandler. He's a likable guy.
Yeah, and also like there's also gonna be actors that are like complete crap, but they bring butts to see because they're pretty good looking guys. Sort of like I don't know, like
I wouldn't go that far anymore. Because you have films like, look how many films Chris Hemsworth has been in. Chris Hemsworth is a good-looking dude, and he's a very underrated actor too. Like, I mean, aside from the Marvel movies, which he has been doing very well in, as far as his just acting and being underrated in those films, look at Bad Times at El Royale.
He improved a lot.
he has improved a lot since that first Thor movie.
Like Taika Waititi really brought him back to life.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he had it there before that too.
I mean, yeah,
Even in
like Taika Waititi
Ghostbusters.
Taika was just like just go all out there. You have it, kid, but just do it.
But yeah, he's a talented guy. He's good looking. He's not bringing people in with his movies anymore, like at all. Like the Men in Black reboot, revamp, continuation, sequel, what have you. That came out last year. It didn't do well.
I didn't like it either.
I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it. I gave it, I think, a 3. Not bad, but I liked it.
I mean, he has pretty good comedian chops.
Yeah, I thought he was good in it. I thought Tessa Thompson was good in it. I would have liked to seen more of that continue. Just maybe bring in some different people behind the scenes to write a better screenplay and whatnot. But people didn't turn out for it, and that had the Men in Black name on it too. On top of that, and maybe people were burning out on Men in Black. They don't, because that's another problem bringing back franchises. It's like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to hit the nostalgia factor? A lot of people who are older, I love the first Men in Black. It's really good. I don't remember the second one that much. I remember bits and pieces, but I haven't watched it, rewatched it recently to tell if it was bad. And then I remember watching the third one when it came out, and it was when we had, I think, I might have rented it from like Redbox back then. I couldn't even get through half of it. It was that bad. So maybe people still remember that movie, and they were like, I can't watch this new one. Like, why waste my money on that? Because going back to like how there's so much that people have to choose from to see in the theater, the movies are expensive. Like, if you go at nighttime, it's like 10, $11 for admission for an adult ticket. And that's here in North Carolina. At most theaters, some are more expensive. I remember going to seeing, and this was an indie film, so maybe it was this type of theater. I went to a theater in Charlotte, which only has like two auditoriums. They show indie films. $12 for a matinee. And that's in North Carolina. You got California. They're more expensive, more like $15. I feel like for.
God damn, man, you want to move over there, man? Fuck.
A night. I think. At least when I saw Once Upon a Time, it was $15 a ticket.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I moved to Miami.
I don't think Miami would be any cheaper, dude.
Man, fuck, man. I just hate the goddamn weather. I don't know. I'll probably move to France or something.
Good luck with that. But yeah, like they're expensive, and theaters are trying to come up with alternatives. They're coming up with like Regal Unlimited, AMC Stubs, all these different passes in response to Movie Pass. I guess Movie Pass was like the start of it. Rest in peace, by the way.
I forgot about
it. Yeah, man, remember those days. But they're coming out with those services, and I do have Regal Unlimited, but those aren't cheap either. Are they a good investment? They are. If you're going to go see as many movies as I watch, they're definitely a good investment versus buying the ticket every time you go to the movies. But I feel like if you're a family or whatever, if you're a general person, you're not going to be like, hey, it probably is not benefiting me to go out and spend this on a pass. I don't know if I'm going to see this many movies. I don't know if I'm going to be whatever. I'm going to buy it per time. And when that happens, you got to be careful what you spend your money on, I guess. Like, which goes back to people on their phones. Don't know why they're on their phones. Why'd you spend the money and then just sit there on your phone? I don't get it. Also, going back to theme parks real quick, it's so annoying when people go to the theater, and we were talking about this of why people go to the movies. Don't go to the movies and take your kids and use it as a form of babysitting. Not if they're not well behaved. I mean, you could do that. You could do that, and I can understand people take. They have those dollar movies during the summer, right? Regal and we know all about that. Trust me, we know all about those films, and that's actually a completely different situation because I would expect um, behavior and whatnot during that, and that's
What
that's
can I
completely
get for $2? A cup of cheese. Next.
cup of ice. Um, but you
What can I get for
expect that.
$5?
And if your kid's well behaved and taking them to a theater as a form of babysitting or whatever, that's great. And I could do that as a kid. When I went to a movie when as a kid, I didn't act up. I was like into the film. But there's lots of kids that aren't like that, and you take them to the theater because you want to do something for like 2 hours, and they're talking, they're jumping around in their seat, they're running up and down the fucking stairs, running around in front of people, and that's like annoying. It's like I can't believe people can do that and then not even take the kid out of it or discipline them. They just like probably half the time they're on their phone, but
That's what's one thing. People need to learn how to discipline their kids because it's just like, yo, like you just making yourself look bad as a parent.
It's like
at this point, like it just kind of goes like at this point, I'm not questioning the kid because
right, because that's
why
your
I'm questioning
responsibility
you
as a parent to make them not act like that, or teach them. You're in a fucking movie theater.
The way he's gonna be in 5 years, that's gonna be on you.
It made me. I thought about that recently. I went to see Doolittle when that came out. Whew. That movie sucked. That was bad. That was like getting on like the scrambler or whatever, and like the ride getting broken, and it just keeps going for like 2 hours, and you just had like a large order of nachos beforehand.
I don't eat that stuff, man.
Like extra jalapenos, extra guac.
That's extra.
You're throwing up everywhere.
Yeah, but you're throwing up my money, man. How much guac costs in a theme park, man? It's a lot. It's more, just like probably triple than Chipotle.
You're still spinning around, so it goes all over you. You get out of the ride, you slip. That's what Doolittle was like.
You haven't been there for forever, my girl.
Your dad's over there, and he's just like shaking his head. And you're like, man, Dad, why'd you make me get on this ride? You disappointed me. Because that was Robert Downey Jr. disappointing me with Doolittle. Yeah, that movie was bad. But what I was getting back to, there were these kids in front of us in Doolittle, and there was actually, I think, 3 seats. One of the girls wasn't that bad. She was bad. She was on the third one, but she wasn't behaving like they were. She was just on her fucking phone the whole time. So that's an issue in itself. But at least she had the lighting turned down on it. I could still see it, but most of the time it didn't bother me. But that's, the other 2 people, the other 2 seats actually had multiple people in each seat. They kept talking the whole time. They kept jumping up and down. They kept running back out of the theater, then running back in. And I told you about it. And then like eventually a mom, not their mom, someone else's mom, in front of them. And this was a sold out theater too, because we were on the 3rd row from the screen, and like they're on the 2nd row. A mom who's like taking her family to see this movie on the front row. They're sitting on the front row, so they're already having to deal with that, and they spent all this money, bought concessions too. She has to get up and tell them to be quiet because it's ruining their experience. And then obviously they give her sass and everything, and then eventually she has to get into it with them again. And not once during this whole time did a fucking person come in and do a theater check, which was really annoying. As someone who worked at the theater, it's like that needs to be done. And yeah,
It's not required at this point anymore, right?
but it should be. And theaters should, and that's another thing with theaters. And I know, I guess this could be a topic for a different time, but I want to mention it. Um, Theaters are doing all of this different type of stuff to try to keep people going to the movies. And once again, this is talking about different people, how people view cinema differently than us, and they go for whatever reason and all this stuff. But theaters are going through all of this trouble to try to get people to keep going to the theater instead of choosing to stay at home and watch Netflix, Hulu, what have you. They want people to come out. They want people to spend their money on concessions. They want people to go to sit down in a theater and watch the movie. But yet they don't take the time and spend the money on the things that matter, like staffing your theater correctly, right? Like, how many times were we in a position where we didn't have enough staff? And it wasn't.
I think at that point, that's something we cannot blame management, but that's just like
No,
people
it
are just
was not.
lazy. People are just lazy.
I wouldn't even put it at that. It wasn't management's response. It wasn't management's fault, because management is told by corporate how many people they can have on a staff compared to like whatever, you know, the projection of numbers and all this stuff. They're told all of this of how many people they can staff, and you just don't have enough. Like I've been in, and this is people like the average person going to a theater and complaining. And I've even seen like people who go to the see movies a lot, complain about it on YouTube and stuff, how they go to theaters and they're upset because they have to wait in line at concessions. And, I was at the theater the other day and I heard somebody saying, "Oh, you got all these open registers and nobody's at them." Yeah, that's not management's fault though. That's corporate not staffing enough because they're spending money on different things that they don't need to, and spending money on bad marketing. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that whole thing because that would be, yeah. I'm going to stop myself right there.
If we start talking about the movie theater, me, we start popping cigarettes, alcohol.
But yeah, theater checks and people monitoring, having enough staff to do so. That's why I mentioned that about the staffing. Having enough staff to do the theater checks, that is very important because you need to make sure that people are not on their phones, not talking, not disrupting the movie going experiences, because it's like you're getting people in, and then once they're in the theater, you don't care about it anymore. And that's not going to bring people back to your theater to continue watching movies there. You got them for one time, you got them for the concessions, you got them for all that, but now they're not coming back because they just had a shitty time because it was ruined because no one came in there to. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any more thoughts about the theme park aspect of it at all, or any more thoughts in general?
Oh, that's pretty much it.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've had a good conversation here. I can't wait to talk about our next topic. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions about future topics that we should talk about, discuss, let us know. Drop it in the comments. Drop us also in the comments what you guys thought about this video. Do you guys think what movies do you think are theme park rides? Do you think Marvel? Do you think Scorsese was right? What do you think about the movie going experience now? Which I do want to do like another separate video later, I think, and talk a little bit more, go in depth about that and what we individually want from going to the movies or sitting at home and watching Netflix as well, and the whole streaming service angle and everything. I think that's another conversation we can have for a different time. But yeah, let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching On the Rocks.